The Ashes of 2023 have been very fiercely contested on the field at least, but off the field there hasn't been as much back and forth as you would remember from a lot of other series. Yet while saying that, it's also worth noting that despite the fact that the back and forth, the banter, the verbal barbs might be less, that doesn't mean that they've gone away entirely. In fact, there has been a lot of back and forth, especially from both captains, the head coaches, and even some players, both current and former, who've talked about or talked up their own teams, put down the other. You know how the Ashes function. And truth be told, we'd not really enjoy the Ashes if it were not for this heated ban. The Ashes from a pretty much losing position. Hear that right. They were 2-0 down after the first two. If they can come back and win it, well, then obviously, the added motivation would be to, come back from 2-0 down, register a 3-2 win. But that being said, even Australia know that the pressure is very much in England, and therefore the pressure ramping up tactics from the Aussies, well, they do tend to continue, even in rather, let's say, more subtle ways. Recently, Josh Hazelwood, who it's confirmed will be part of the test of the fourth test at Old Trafford, said something rather interesting when it comes to, let's say, the Bazball style, which should be told has both its fans as well as its critics. And England's Bazball style, or the approach rather, has been criticized a lot. But Hazelwood revealed a rather new and interesting facet on the entire thing, and it pertains to an oft-debated topic in cricket: workload management. Remember, Hazelwood himself was rested from the previous test because Australia wanted to ensure that he was fresh going into the next two tests. And he did say something really interesting that pertains to, as I said, Bazball. So without further ado, let's check out what it is he said. This is what he said. He said, we haven't bowled a lot of overs in terms of what test matches usually look like for us. The way England play, it gets us in the field for a little less in terms of workload. Oh boy. Now, whilst you can understand what it is he's saying, he's not entirely wrong, because England's rather aggressive style means that more often than not, they're not looking to knuckle down and grind it out. No, they're looking to hit out and get out. And what Hazelwood has said is that quite simply this means that the workload is definitely a little less for us than when we're playing other nations, because with other nations, if they're in bad situations, they will kind of look to, take things slow, assess the situation, then look to kind of consolidate before they look to attack or counter-attack. With England, there's only been one way of playing, and truth be told, as he says, the workload really hasn't been that much of a problem for us, because again, we're playing far less than we used to. Of course, there's also an argument to be made that in the third test, that's exactly how the Aussie batters were playing as well, because again, there were multiple instances of them throwing away their wickets and losing what could have very well been a winnable test for them. Of course, that's something that will get consigned to history, because of course England ended up winning that third test anyway. But it is an interesting thing to note that, well, as I said, the verbal jabs, while subtle, still very much there. That being said, this wasn't the only thing that Hazelwood spoke about in this press conference. He was speaking in the pre-match press conference. He also spoke about his own fitness and his readiness. And one of the things he talks about is the fact that, he ended up rested. And he said that, I obviously sat the last game out and I feel better for it. Having a rest and getting a bit of strength back has helped me in getting ready for this game. And it's easy to understand why he would say that. But of course, even he admitted that he's saying this in hindsight and whilst keeping the bigger picture in mind. Because in his eyes, all that was important for him, because now it's helped him get fit and ready to go. This is what he said. He said that missing Headingley set me up for the last two games of the Ashes. Hopefully with that behind me now, I'm in a better position than I was a month ago. And in fact, he did end up dwelling significantly on what he means by a month ago, because again, as I said, he missed a lot of the IPL. He was ruled fit before the World Test Championship, but didn't end up playing, and later admitted that he wasn't fully, it wasn't just about him being fully fit, he wasn't necessarily match fit, and that was something that even the team management felt was a bit of a problem, and therefore they ended up choosing not to play with him. They went in with Bolin instead. Of course, now that he's played a few games but has also been given a significant amount of rest, he feels his injury worries are behind him, and he's set, ready to go. And of course, a fully fit Josh Hazelwood at his best would be a very difficult proposition for England. And given the fact that if you see how England's team lineup is, they have three bowlers who would be expected to trouble the Aussies with swing. You have, of course, Chris Woakes, you have James Anderson, and you have Stuart Broad. If the conditions really are conducive to swing bowling, there's few bowlers in the world as dangerous as Hazelwood, and he certainly seems fit and raring to go. So that's not a good sign if you're the English batsman. Of course, they too would be raring to go out and maybe prove a few pointers wrong. Maybe this time they'll want to look ahead and give the, let's say, Aussie bowlers some less time off and ensure that they stay on the field for a little bit longer. Of course, as I said, that's the beauty of Ashes cricket, the back and forth, the give and take, and it'll be interesting to see how it is that the Englishmen respond to this drive, whether it be with their bats, whether it be through the press, or maybe even with a little bit of a verbal send-off here or there. We don't really know. What we do know is the fourth test is going to be an absolute humdinger to watch, and you'd better be joining us as we bring you all of the latest updates from that as well. For now though, we're taking your leave, but thank you so much for joining us. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, tap that bell icon, leave us a comment, follow us on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Don't forget to download the SportsTech app, and if you're already with us, if you're already on the channel too, stay right here, go ahead and check out some other videos that we've done. For now, from my side though, it's goodbye.